We're going to hear from Paige Pinyerd, another person with the Institute. Paige is a lead maternal health advocate, and she's going to provide us with information on the Institute's centering program. Paige, welcome. This is your first time with us. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen and I am going to talk about our centering groups, but I'm also going to talk about just like the PCN role in general. Sorry, I'm trying to find, why is it? But I'm going to go a little fast. So then, view, there it is, sorry. But I'll try to keep it a little short. Basically, so perinatal care navigators, I've been a perinatal care navigator for 5 years. 2 of those years was in the Bronx, and now I'm a lead. I work in Harlem, but I also support the ones in the Bronx. Where to report? So we have PCNs, perinatal care navigators at Stevenson and Walton, but they also support our urban and Mount Hope and Westchester location. The perinatal care navigators at Stevenson and Walton they know their local resources, they're with their WIC, and they're trying to get their patients that support from the local resources. They're also really they know a lot of information about the hospitals that a lot of their patients deliver. A lot of our patients deliver at Montefiore, North Central Bronx. And what our job is we just catch people that fall through the cracks. So if you've missed your appointment, we're calling you, we're getting you an appointment that week or the next week. If you are needing referrals, we're making sure those referrals are happening. If you have a doctor's appointment and you did not understand what your doctor said, we're going to make sure the doctor comes back and explains things. We meet with you at every one of your appointments and we go over education with you. And we also make sure you have WIC, nurse practitioner partnership, better balance. Love you guys. You have helped so much with our patients. We're also all doula trained and we do volunteer doula for our patients, which is super helpful in also understanding the labor delivery floors at those hospitals. So it's different to do a tour and be like, okay, this is our labor and delivery floor. But when you've doulaed and actually understand how those labor delivery floors actually work, it's really helpful in helping our other patients advocate for themselves in labor and delivery when we're not there. So super, super helpful. And we only probably do 2 or 3 of our patient births a year because if we did everybody, we would never leave the hospital. But we also get them in touch with doulas, volunteer doulas through the city, so that they can have doulas during their birth. We are also all trained in breastfeeding. The goal is everyone to be CLC certified lactation consultants. I am one of the ones before the pandemic. Everyone was trained. We're trying to get back to that. And I'm going to touch on this again when it comes to one-on-one education, which is our big thing, and in centering, but we go through breastfeeding from the start of pregnancy to after postpartum. A lot of research has shown that you want to start talking about breastfeeding at the beginning of pregnancy, not just at the end. It makes a huge impact for it to be a conversation. So like a lot of you guys have amazingly touched on, really meeting the patient where they're at. For some people, it might be bottle and breast. So how are we doing that? Let's talk about the benefits and how you're still doing a great job by giving any breast milk. And you're still doing a great job if you just end up having to do formula. But we are really having a conversation of like, what are their barriers from the beginning of pregnancy? Because we're meeting with people from the start. So from once they decide to continue with the pregnancy until their last postpartum appointment. And we're giving education throughout, and we're going on that gestational age. So we're talking about nutrition, we're going through preeclampsia, mental health. We are not mental health providers, but we're supporting getting them those resources, but we're also with them creating a toolbox for them to use of mental health steps, breathing techniques, things to help them relax. The beauty of our one-on-one education, I think it's the best thing we do here at the Institute with prenatals. We are able to kind of, for each individual person, individualize the education. So maybe someone just wants the highlights, they don't know on everything. Some people come in, they need every little detail. Maybe some person's just really struggling with housing. How are we going to make breastfeeding work in a shelter where they might not have accessibility to a fridge? How can we get them that fridge? How can we fight for that? We're also doing follow-up care with contraception and the postpartum care, which is As we said, that's where a lot of mental health things happen. That's where somebody who's just suffered from preeclampsia, they're going to have possible health issues their entire life from that preeclampsia. So how are we doing things to support them? Pelvic floor health. How is your back? How is your body feeling? We're really trying to support somebody on a lot of levels. But the beauty is we have this whole pregnancy and postpartum to really give them the tools, give them the information, send resources, and we really create a great support network. Also, somebody had mentioned like providers not knowing, lactation. I have a lot of providers sitting on my lactation appointments because they're able to learn those things. Also, having them come back and re-explain things realizes that, hey, I can't just run through everything. I need to sit back, I need to talk to people, which has really helped how we give care to our patients. I don't want someone to come in and just be a number. I feel like, especially when you already have Medicaid, you feel like a number in the system. A PCN is really there to help you not feel like that. My appointments aren't 15 minutes. They can be 10 minutes if it's quick. They can be an hour and a half if it's something that we really need to get into, which is really, really awesome. Breastfeeding. So again, meeting people where they're at. When I first started this, I was just spewing the information, but really making it a full, long, start of pregnancy. We're bringing up how they feel. We're talking about what the positives of breastfeeding are. How is this going to work in your life? What do you feel comfortable with? It's okay if you don't get breastfeeding the first week, the first month. It takes time explaining those, having those expectations. And we've really seen a lot of positive help with breastfeeding. Everybody's breastfeeding journey is their own, and we really want to support them in that. And that's the beauty of a piece of a perinatal care navigator, is that we're really able to see a patient and help support them. We used to have a breastfeeding cafe pre-pandemic at our Harlem site, which a lot of people from the Bronx would come down to, or we would send them to WIC. Teresa, we'd send them to your breastfeeding cafe. And so we're trying to get that back going as well. I don't have a lot of data just because we're trying to get these programs back going, trying to get the money again for people to get certified again. But it's been super helpful just to have that constant flow of education throughout the pregnancy, and just so people have an understanding, so they have expectations that they don't need to get it right the first time, the second time, the fourth time, and that we're there to support them. And then centering. So centering is where we talk a lot about breastfeeding, but also this is really where the community support comes in. At Walton, we used to have centering parenting and centering pregnancy. We are trying to bring those back. Currently, we just have centering at our Harlem site, but we're trying to bring them back to our Bronx sites. And I have some on here, a few things, like just a few data points that they have from centering, but these really reflect a lot what we see in our patients. So the reduced risk of preterm labor, yes, but also the beauty of centering is when somebody does have a preterm birth or a miscarriage later in pregnancy, the support of the group, the centering group, is amazing. And for those of you who don't know what centering is, I'm sorry. Centering is usually 10 sessions built around a person's gestational ages. So you're in a group of people that are in the same due dates as you. And you, instead of going to your appointments, you're going to these centering groups where your appointment is a part of that group. Within that group, you're also getting education. And we're not just sitting here talking to you. We are saying, hey, has anybody heard about Pitocin? What's Pitocin? Hey, what is people's experience with breastfeeding? What have you heard? What is something wild or something really that you heard and then you tried and it wasn't true, or something that you really liked? So really the patients are teaching, which is incredible and really, really helpful. A great thing from centering that taught me a lot, this one centering group was all actually single mothers. One of the sessions is like, okay, who should do this, the partner or you, which was not applicable for that group. And one mother who had 2 children, she was a single mom, and she was like, this is how you take a shower when you don't have anybody's support when a newborn baby. This is how you feed the kids while taking care. And that was so useful for everybody in that group. The same thing with breastfeeding. That same mother, I love her. She had delivered first, her breasts were hard. She goes, feel my breasts. This is what they feel like when the milk is in. That for another mother helps so much. Okay. And then coming back to what I said about preterm, if somebody has a miscarriage or a preterm birth, all of those mothers are supporting each other. Extreme. They will ask for each other's numbers. They will come in. They'll be like, please have her show up. We want to support her more. It is amazing. And going the breastfeeding, yes, it helps with breastfeeding. You know, it's nice to just have a group of people you can complain about your breast hurting when you're in this, because a lot of your friends might not be pregnant at the same time. You are able, like I said, feeling other people's breasts, seeing how somebody else lactates. You're like, oh my gosh, it is something that happens. And then for teens, I see the mothers, the young mothers are so helpful when they're there because there's other mothers that, like I said, may have had 3 children, 4 children that already know and can give them that support and tell them how it is. This really helps with continuity of care. I see a lot of patients coming back constantly. And then the community support. So a lot of my groups from 4 years ago are still friends. They might have a third baby with me and are like, oh yeah, I talked to Melissa the other day and she's doing great and she wanted me to say hi. That is what we want to create here, a place where people are coming back, we're seeing their babies, seeing their second babies, but we're also seeing their friends, their families, and wanting their friends and families to come to centering, creating these amazing communities that are really helping with breastfeeding, talking about contraception, even talking about all of these things, and they're spreading that word. Sorry, there we go. That's my spiel, but yeah, very exciting. And thank you all, you guys. I use all of your guys' stuff so with my patients all the time, and they are so grateful. I'm very privileged to do this work. My patients are my everything. So thank you all. This is really great to be on here.